A little town with so much history, so much to do for you and me. We found the stairs back in 92. There's always something to make things new. Morning fishing out on Hamlin Lake. I never catch a fish 'cause I'm always late. There's so many places in this world you can see. When all is said and done, we always choose Ludington. Well, the state park's just 5 miles away. There's always full, and so we never stay. On the side of the road, there's always firewood. The beaches are seen right out of Hollywood. Take a walk to the lighthouse, hold tight to the rails, or visit the pier and watch the big ship sail. Take a walk on the beach, morning, noon, and night. We can watch the sun going out of sight. Woo! Well, the state park's just 5 miles away, but it's always full, and so we never stay. On the side of the road, there's always firewood. The beaches are seen right out of Hollywood. Take a walk to the lighthouse, hold tight to the rails, or visit the pier and watch a big ship sail. Take a walk on the beach, morning, noon, and night. You can watch the sun going out of sight. Oh yeah.
This is Motor City Rock Talk, and this is Jimmy Jive. Tonight, my guest is a singer, songwriter, guitar player who's got 5 albums out to date. As to describing the music, well, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but a lot of really good stuff. I'll have him go into more detail on that. Anyway, my guest tonight is Mr. Nick Slayton. Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
You bet. Let's start with a little background on yourself. Tell me basically where you're from originally and maybe some of the bands or artists that influenced you growing up.
Definitely. I was born in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I basically lived here my whole life. I live in Ypsilanti now. Yeah, I was born in Ann Arbor, and my earliest memories of music was my dad was a big music fan, so I remember like Elvis and the Beatles growing up, and
Oh, yeah.
I loved Paul McCartney's solo work in the 80s. I was born in 1980, so through the 80s he was doing a lot of solo stuff that I don't know if it was super popular, but I loved it because I was young, and so I liked all his solo stuff. But yeah, we used to watch what was the live video from Paul McCartney put out in the 70s, and I'm drawing a blank, but there was a tape we would rent, his live Wings Over America rock show. Yeah, we used to rent rock show all the time and watch that.
They showed that in PBS, I believe, a couple times. Well, as to, like I mentioned in the intro, your guitar player, singer,
Yeah.
songwriter, any particular guitarists may have influenced your playing? I have a
Oh,
feeling
yeah.
I might know of one, but I want to see if you mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. So in the I don't know, when I was about 10 or 11, I really discovered like heavy metal and thrash, I guess.
Hmm.
So for the first few years of playing guitar, it was all like James Hetfield, Dave Mustaine, Marty Friedman. It was the
Right.
guy at Megadeth, Metallica. They
Sure.
were my favorite guitar players. And then in about 1995, I got really heavy into Ozzy and discovered Randy Rhoads and Zakk Wylde. And
Hmm.
then when I was 16, I always heard of Van Halen, but I really got into Van Halen and these, my favorite guitar player of all time, and rest in peace, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, Eddie Van Halen was. I don't know. I just loved the heavy sound of Van Halen, but there's also, which if you listen to any of my stuff, I like kind of the pop sound to it too a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But it was also could be crushing at times and shredding. Eddie was obviously Eddie, so I like that aspect a lot about
Yeah.
Ozzy's music too. It was different
Yeah.
than thrash.
Yeah, and it was also, like you said, it had elements that were hard and elements that were pop rock
Yeah.
almost. They weren't.
Yep.
It wasn't. Van Halen wasn't thrash in any way. I mean, you had
Right.
you had songs like "Beautiful Girls" and then you had
Yep.
"Eruption," so they went
Hmm.
in several different directions.
Right.
Now, as to your music, specific music, and like I said, you've
Hmm.
got five
Yeah.
CDs out. Who would you say, because they do not sound anything like
All
Eddie
right.
Van Halen, they don't sound anything like thrash. Did you have an epiphany at one time and decided you wanted to be a little different or change your style?
Yeah, it's a good question because my original band was my brother. He was the drummer. His obviously like Van Halen. We used our last name. Slayton was the band, and we were a pretty heavy metal band. So our singer left, our bass. We lost a bass player, and then people are just busy in life, and
Right.
it was just easier for me to work on my own at home. And if I can't play out shows all the time, I'll just record all the time. So, but in my 20s, I got heavily into Springsteen, which might not be surprising, I guess, if you heard some songs
Yeah,
too.
I was gonna say
And
it reminded
yeah,
me a bit of that. Yeah.
yeah. And in my late teens, I got heavily into like Pink Floyd and Roger Waters too. So there's some stuff like those couple artists. And I mean, I like you too. I like all sorts of band
Hmm.
music a lot,
Sure.
but for non-metal, I kind of just love the sound of like Pink Floyd, Roger Waters solo stuff, and like that Springsteen, like house rocking kind of music.
Yeah. Thing is really interesting because as far as your lyrics and the themes from your songs, they
Mhm.
seem to remind me of Springsteen. And I love Bruce
Yeah.
Springsteen. Don't make
Yeah.
me wrong. I love all the artists you
Hmm.
mentioned also. The Springsteen, John Cougar Mellencamp, that kind of
Yeah.
like rootsy rock
Yeah.
with a meaningful message. Would
Yeah.
that describe your music kind of?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it's a good description of it. I mean, on my website and whatever social media, I do kind of use that angle of like,
Hmm.
Nick Slayton's music explores life experiences and growing up, and sing a lot about my marriage, my wife, and my kids. I do sing about, but not as much because I don't know. I find it harder to write songs about kids
Right.
than your spouse. So, but yeah, I maybe lived an untraditional rock and roll lifestyle. I got married really young, and I've been married. It'll be 25 years
Oh,
in
cool.
2026. So it's like I had kids, three daughters, and it was just so I had just kind of a different lifestyle. So
Sure.
that might reflect in my music a little bit, but
Hmm.
I still love metal and heavy stuff.
Down a little
To
bit
do
to
that,
the
yeah,
kids.
yeah,
We all do. We all do. You don't
yeah,
have to be ashamed of that. That's
yeah,
all.
yeah,
That's all good.
definitely.
Now, as for these, like I mentioned, you have five CDs out.
Yeah.
When did the first one come out? How long has it been between, the first and the most recent album?
Yep, the first one I put out at the very end of 2014. It was like December 23rd. That had, I think, half the song. I think there was 10 songs on it, and half of them I'd written over the course of like 7 or 8 years, and then the other half I kind of wrote in 2014. It just felt like I guess I'm just going to do this and go through a solo record, and
Right.
because I didn't even sing in my. I mean, I sung back vocals, but I didn't really sing in my other band. But yeah, I mean, what is that? 11 years now. So
That's, that I was going to say, because that is a lot of music in
wow,
11
yeah.
years. Most bands aren't putting out five albums in 10 years,
Wow.
11 years.
Yeah.
So you must have really had a lot to write about and a lot you wanted
Yeah.
to get out as far as your
Yeah,
music.
yeah, I think so. I mean, we're doing a concert in early November, and I've been trying to write like a kind of songs kind of book, and
Hmm.
my wife edited it for me. And going through them all, I'm like, yeah, like you said, there's just a lot. I had a lot to write about, and some of it's similar and some of it's different. So it's just kind of whatever's going on in life
Right.
when I'm writing the lyrics. 'Cause I always write music first. I always just jam.
Hmm.
That's probably because my brother and I, we used to just play drums and guitars, just by ourselves. Music always comes first.
When
Yeah.
did you decide, like you said, you weren't the singer in the other
Mhm.
group you were in? When did you decide that, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to start singing? When did you decide to do that?
I think it was just kind of like a natural thing, like just can do all this. I always could hold a note, I just still don't think I have the greatest voice, but I could hold a tune. I've always been able to
Mhm.
sing, but I just never really did it much, especially in my band.
Right. It's different from
Yeah,
singing in a heavy metal thrash
yeah,
band than to what
yep,
you're doing. You sound
yeah.
absolutely fine in what you're doing.
Oh, okay,
Believe
yeah.
me,
Thank
you
you.
do.
Appreciate that. Appreciate
It's a
that.
lot more difficult. I mean, I shouldn't say difficult, but I'm just saying metal music, that kind of hard
Yeah.
rock, the vocalists tend to be ones that try and sing that real high octave stuff
Hmm.
to get
Yeah.
out that effect. Whereas your music, it's more mid range,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
which is cool.
Yeah.
Now, where did you record these? Did you say you have a home studio? Did you record in your home
Yeah.
studio?
Yeah, I did them all in my house. We did an album with this guy I used to know, Nick Morris. He has a studio out, I think it was Redford at the time, but he was using the software Reaper, and
Mm-hmm.
I was just watching him use it over and over and over again in 2011. And he told me about it, and he's like, yeah, you should just download it and mess with it. So I just started messing with it. Yeah, I've just started buying gear over the years. Nothing crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
enough to work with what I do because I play all the instruments. So it's like I don't
Oh.
need massive amounts of inputs and stuff, but kind of learning over time. And that's one thing I like is hearing personally, I think the sound gets better each record. So
Yeah,
that's
you're going
kind
to
of
learn
exciting
more as you
too.
go along.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
Yeah. But
interesting, though. You said you play all the instruments, so you're
mhm.
playing everything on these recordings, even
Hmm.
drums.
Do the drums and first couple albums I did what do you call that tune track drumming thing,
Mm-hmm.
and now I have an electric kit to where I can record stuff and I'll piece it together though,
Right.
like play beats, play a bunch of fills, and then move them around and stuff like that. That's the downside of the way I do it is like not being able to jam with people.
But I
So
wouldn't have
working
thought that.
ideas.
It
Oh,
didn't,
really?
doesn't
That's good.
sound like that in the record. I thought you had
Wow,
a full.
that's
I thought
cool.
it was a full band here.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I mean,
Well,
that's pretty
that's good to hear.
amazing.
That's cool.
Now, as far as a band, because you said something about playing an upcoming concert,
Yeah.
then do you have a band now that goes out and performs this music?
Yeah. Like my brother still plays with me, and then he plays drums, and my singer from my metal band, he played bass originally in our old
Mm-hmm.
band. So he plays bass. My daughter plays, we kind of have her, she doesn't play acoustic, but we kind of have her set up on a Strat. So she kind of plays a clean tone
Mm-hmm.
kind of Strat thing. And then a couple friends of mine play keyboards for me. My wife's cousin, Steve Worrell, he plays guitar and sings a lot with us too. And then my wife sings, and my oldest daughter, Emily, who she's on the records too, he sings live too. So we got a nice big band of
Yeah, I was
people.
gonna say
But
you got the
yeah, we don't
Partridge
play.
Family going on there.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Do a lot of family, mostly all family, and then one, two, three, four non-family. But
That's really cool. Now,
yeah.
so you've got a band you
Mhm.
perform with your music. Any plans for the future, maybe incorporating some of them into recording? In other words, playing some of the instruments, or do you just feel it's easier for you to do it the way you're doing it?
It's easier to do it schedule wise, but I've always thought the last two in 2019 was the first time we did a show with everybody live, and it was nice having everybody kind of bring their own just personality into
Mm-hmm.
the songs. So on the next one I did Breaking News, I was doing that where I was like, maybe I'll have so and so come and do something, but then it's just always scheduling or something,
Right.
So I kind of write and play stuff like with them in mind. Like Steve would like this part, or Steve could nail this part live, or Suzanne plays piano for me. I'm like, she could probably be really good at it. So
Mm-hmm.
try to get in their heads anyway. But that would be something I would like to do is have them.
So with a group this big, I mean that's like an orchestra. Where do you guys rehearse?
At church I go to, so it's kind of a nice,
Yeah.
relaxed environment. equipment. So, we have monitors, everything's ready to go. So everybody we meet up there and we can just take as much time as we want.
Now, when you say at the church, does your band then also play like during the services at all, like a praise band thing at all, or?
Some did. I think my wife's cousin, he does at he doesn't go where I go, but he plays. But we all have or do have at some point or do play during services. So we kind of got along,
Right.
because it's different playing that. It's basically like cover songs. You're just playing cover music, but you kind of get a sense of like you're kind of connecting with musically, anyways. And so that's why one of the reasons I asked people who I did ask to be like, hey, would you be interested in? It's kind of humbling actually when they say yes. I'm like, they put a lot of work into it, and I'm just like, I'm like always so grateful because we're not making money. So
Right, it's for the love of music. I get that.
yeah, exactly.
Now, as far as the 5 albums, were any of these released in a physical format, like a CD or anything like that?
I have made CDs for all of them. I have all of with the new album already said goodbye. I ordered 100 of those, so and almost so I have CDs of all 5 albums that I usually just sell at the concerts because I just don't see much of a demand online for people ordering CDs. But at the concerts, it's kind of interesting because whenever I think CDs are dead, my wife's like, just order some, and then I do, and then we sell a bunch. So it's kind of cool that people still want to grab a CD or something.
Do you do anything beyond that as far as merch? I mean, I know you're more or less a solo act with a big orchestra, but I mean, do you have T-shirts or anything that you sell off?
I do on Amazon. There's a Amazon merch on demand link that I just put like album cover T-shirts up there, and then on my website, I used to think I had one of those Cafe Press stores, which actually Rob Miller told me about that store a long time ago. Cafe Press. And then honestly, the kind of I do play shows. It's a family friendly environment, so there's usually a lot of youngsters there too, and so they'll like want to buy like little posters I make, and they always have the band sign them. It's kind of this,
very cool.
Might seem corny, but it's kind of so simple stuff like that. And like I said, I'm trying to put together this book because people claim that they like when I talk about the songs. I don't like when I hear myself talk about my songs, but so I've been trying to this little like book together of I was going to see if I could, if anybody's, I know my mom or my sister would buy one, but I'm curious if anybody else.
You mentioned you guys to go out and play concerts. So I take it then, especially that the band or orchestra, whatever way you want to call it, is this large. You guys aren't going out and playing bar scene at all, right? Or clubs?
No. I thought about maybe doing something sometime at like I don't know, it's the Token or type of place. And I've been out of that scene for so long, just because, so, and then every time I think about it, I'm like, I don't want to play if I'm going to play a show, it's like, we play for a while too. We play for like an hour and a half, and we play like, it's fun, that's kind of I like the control I have doing stuff kind of more indie, which it's fun. It is a different environment though. We sell popcorn, water and pop and stuff, but it's definitely not like a bar.
Where do you put on these concerts? I mean,
the church I go to actually
exclusively there.
Yeah, and again, I'm not opposed to doing it somewhere else. I guess I would have to look into like
other churches. I would think you could maybe do it.
Yeah, I thought about that too sometimes, and I don't know. I kind of get that musicians like whatever, nobody cares. It's a waste of time. So sometimes I'll be more negative. That's where my wife comes in and is like, "No, you need to do something." But yeah, maybe I would look into doing more stuff. But kind of, I don't want to wear everybody out, even though we don't play often. We usually put an album out and then we do a show, and then I work on more music, and then we do another show.
Do you charge admission for the show?
Yeah, it's like $6. Which I felt weird. Yeah, I felt weird doing that anyways. And a lot of people are like, if it's free, people probably think it's bad, but it's good. So
you charge them $6 and give it to the church.
There you go.
Or give half to the church. Because I mean, are they letting you? When you say you rehearse at this church, are they letting you do that for free, or do you have to pay to use the place?
Yeah, I get to do that. That's where I go. So yeah, they don't mind.
That's awesome.
Use the building. Yeah, so
that's awesome. Cool. A lot of people won't have that luxury, because I mentioned it's a good sized room, because you need a good sized room for that many people. So basically, with a group this size, and you write, like you say, basically writing music kind of envelop the musicians you have. How do they then learn the song? Do you have it all worked out and give them a tape or send them a link to it so they can figure it out, or you tell them the key or anything like that? How does that work?
Yeah, I'll usually start once the album's like done. I'll usually share a folder in Google Drive of just the music, just the album, so they can listen to the stuff. I write out like just chord charts, and which is usually good enough for all the guitar players and bass players. And then with the keyboard and like pianos, I might show them some stuff, or sometimes I'll make a video of me playing the riff. I always call it a riff. I don't know if that's what you call it.
No, that's
piano,
right.
But yeah. So it's usually kind of however. I always tell everybody whatever you need, I can accommodate. So, but yeah, it's usually chord charts, and then they make notes, and then if there's a specific part, I'll just show them, and everyone's pretty good at playing by ear. So that's
and they're are they pretty used to your style right now?
I think so, yeah.
So, they can latch onto it pretty quick.
Yep. Yeah, I think so. There's some other songs that I put aside. Actually, it's funny because, like you were saying, I have a lot of music.
Yeah.
But I have another album that's like half done that I was gonna do, but I was gonna try and do. There's not as many kind of like progressive rock kind of songs on this newer album because all three of those songs, they were really longer songs, and I was like, I'm just gonna put those all on the next album and write a couple more, so kind of do something different. So that might be a little different for the band if we do. But even when we do some of those songs that are different, more Floyd, they're not like different, but they're just a different vibe,
Right.
They always do great. They always kind of pick it up, just like the more pop songs. They do really good.
The other thing I noticed when checking out your Facebook page was you had mentioned earlier about Van Halen.
Yeah.
I see some Van Halen type pedals or something, one of the pictures. Are you using those in your recording, or do you use that more for live performances, or both?
I'll use those in recording and some of them live, but live I usually end up using my Line 6 Helix just because it's just so easy to use those things for live stuff. It's just I have it like a simple rig, but yeah, that's one thing I kind of miss is playing old school, playing through an amp and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I will use that, and some settings I've got set up that I kind of mimic some of Eddie's like flanger or phaser and stuff like that.
Those hammer-ons like he does?
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe not so much on my music, but the solo stuff is some of the heavier stuff, and there might be some on the next album too. So I guess maybe on that EBH song, I may do a couple things like that.
Well, you could also, I guess, wouldn't hurt, do an instrumental, and you could really do that in there.
Thought of doing that too.
Now, these concerts, these performances, you do any covers at all?
Nope, and it's always ended up being original material. Sometimes I think to maybe do a cover or something like that, but if people seem to keep coming back and enjoying themselves, I'm like, let's just keep doing the originals.
Somebody's at your concerts yelling out, "Freebird, Freebird!"
No.
Well, that's good. And like you said, they must be really enjoying what you're doing. Now, I take it then from you playing most, at the church now that you do all this recording, and it's kind of a big family thing. This is just something for the love of it. In other words, you're not looking to get signed and go out there and do some major touring or anything like that.
I'd always be open to that, but I just turned 45, and so I'm happy and content with my life the way it is. But if someone ever heard a song and was like, "Hey, do you want to go?" I'm like always looking opportunities. So
take a group like that with you, though.
That would be the hard part. It would be like you'd have me, but we would need to get other people because everybody can't just upgrade their job.
Sure. But you're young, man. You're saying you're 45. You're not an old man.
I feel old.
Hey, I'm 63. Don't talk to me, youngster.
All right.
Have you done anything as far as if you're performing at the church? Do you ever videotape? Anybody videotape any of it?
Yeah, I usually have my couple of friends of mine videotape. Those should be on YouTube. The last two concerts we did, the full concerts. But yeah, it was weird. The last show you can usually record directly from the soundboard, which isn't always the greatest sounding, but it's kind of nice to have.
Right.
It's just a stereo mix, but it didn't work at that last concert we did in 2022. So the one from 2022 is just like iPhone and a couple different microphones in the audience. Sounds decent enough. You can tell. You can tell everybody's playing well, and you can tell when I screw up a guitar solo or something. But, of course, but
I'm sure they're not that critical on you being in a church.
I hope.
How often do you get this group? I mean, you guys obviously rehearse at the church. How often do you guys get together and actually do these concerts?
Usually it's just been about every 3 years, honestly, since 2019. Me and we usually rehearse, like at this point, we've rehearsed 3 times for the show, and the show's November 7th this year. And so we've rehearsed 3 times. The old songs were just like amazing. Like everyone was just like playing them perfectly. I'm like, wow, you guys are like really, you remembered all these parts and stuff. So, and last night we worked on the songs from the new album. So those were rougher, but it was rougher for me too, because the stuff I recorded 2 years ago, and just getting around, I'm like, oh man, I forgot what I did on that solo. I got to relearn that solo. I can play in the key of D, but I'm like, I'm not playing it the way I did. Yeah, so usually just like a month and a half before the concert is kind of when we get together. But like you said, we all kind of play together at church sometimes. Not different though. It's way more like just free and loose when we do the stuff for the concert, and we kind of take, there's more time. But yeah, both are fun. But yeah, it's always a nice experience doing these special things. So
now, so you're not doing them that often. Is that out of choice? Is that because of people's scheduling, or is that because you don't want to go out and play these at the church frequently because you think they'll get stale?
A little bit of that, and sometimes I think I should do it at least once a year. But then I don't know. I think I should probably do it more often, but I don't know. Sometimes when I get focused recording and writing, I don't want to do live, which might seem weird. But even though on this small indie scale, it's just kind of like, maybe I should try that. Maybe not wait 3 years for the next.
I was going to say another way you could get around that a little bit is write some original Christmas song and then have a Christmas concert.
Yeah.
And then have another one in the spring. And it's like, 1 a year, 2 a year. As long as the scheduling works out, like you said, and it gives you time to do that. Because I imagine you have a full-time job also.
Yeah, I do. I'm a graphic designer, actually. So I do that full-time, and then do music in all my spare time as much as possible.
Right. Well, like I say, it sounds like you love it. It sounds like the group you got together really love playing and performing with, that, because that's the key. That's the real joy behind music, when you can play it live and share it. And to have your family members involved in it, that's incredible. That's
really cool.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for talking to me tonight, and you have a good rest of your evening.
You too. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Take care.
All right.
This is Nick Slayton, solo artist who lives in the Ypsilanti area, has 5 CDs out on Spotify, possibly all the streaming services, but I've heard them on Spotify. Really good stuff. If you're a fan of like Bruce Springsteen, maybe a little John Cougar Mellencamp, with a little bit more grit as far as the solo and the guitar solo, because he, has that Van Halen influence that way, you definitely want to check him out. The last name is, like I say, Slate. Check him out. He's, like I said, 5 albums, and they're solid albums, and they're on Spotify. Hey, is that old stereo system of yours giving you the blues? Maybe the receiver has a blown channel, or the turntable just doesn't work right. Well, then you should visit my friends at 7 Grand Audio Service. They've been in business for over 40 years. Located at 25642 7 Mile Road in Redford Township, the owner Dash and his assistant Harry can fix just about anything. Receiver, tape decks, turntables, EQs, power amps, and yes, guitar and bass amps. The phone number over there is 313-533-3635. They're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Check them out and let them know Jimmy sent you. Anyway, with that said, and like I always say, keep rocking.